So.
This is Barbara Elistad with Mesquite Citizen Journal, and we're here this morning with Mesquite Mayoral candidate Bob Sweetin. So welcome. And
thanks, Barb.
It's a delight to have you here.
Thank you. I love your backyard. I've never seen your backyard. It's beautiful, a little oasis here.
Yeah, thank you. So just touch a little bit on your background, and obviously you're still the Mesquite City Attorney, so just give us a little bit of rundown on how you got to where you are sitting across the table from me doing an interview.
Great, thanks, Barb. I'll give you the abbreviated version.
Okay.
So I grew up in Southern Nevada. I'm a third-generation Nevadan. I love Nevada. I graduated from Sweetin Mayoral High School in Las Vegas. My wife graduated from Foothill High School out in Henderson. I attended college up in northern Utah at BYU. My wife and I were married while we were there. She was a school teacher for 4 years in Utah. After that, we went to Northern California. I attended law school out there. She got her master's in business, transitioned from teaching over to business, and got her master's in business administration from UC Davis. And I had my first lawyer job there in Sacramento, which was as a federal prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of California. Generally prosecuting misdemeanors. As a brand new attorney, I did get to work on some high-profile felonies, which was really neat at the federal level, and I loved, being on that law enforcement side, on the federal side, getting up and saying Bob Sweetin for the United States was always something I never got over.
Oh wow!
And then I went to. We came back to Nevada. I clerked for a judge, a great judge down in Las Vegas, Gloria Sturman. After clerking for her, I went to the Clark County District Attorney's Office. I worked as a prosecutor there for about 2.5 years. And then I came up here. There was a position for the local prosecutor's office. I knew that Cheryl Hunt, my predecessor as city attorney, was looking towards retirement.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful offer to come up here and potentially be a city attorney early on in my career.
Yeah.
And that worked out, and I did it, and I've loved it. I've loved protecting our community as our local prosecutor, primarily domestic violence, low-level drug cases, and DUIs is what I mostly do. And we've done a lot of good over there. We've started the victim advocacy program, which has been huge for our domestic violence victims. We have branched that out to also serve businesses for financial crimes. They help get restitution, and that's not just on our local crimes. That's on countywide crimes. So felony, misdemeanor, all the way up to serious felonies. Our victim advocates work on those cases.
Yeah.
And then we have our drug court, which I'm proud of. Judge Toon has led that. I've been lucky to be a part of that, and that's my summarized background.
Well, just kind of touch just a bit. You just helped make history a couple weeks ago in the Mesquite Municipal Court by holding its first ever in the history jury trial.
That's right.
So
yes.
My reporter Terry Narrance reported on that and emailed back and said, "Man, oh man, he's a bulldog." So.
Well, that was a fun case. It was a serious domestic violence as far as we see them. Folks that have read Terry's great article on that saw the victim was they were just enjoying their time at Casablanca. The boyfriend hit her in the face, and she started bleeding all over, and she called the police, and ultimately we were, and that stems from a Supreme Court case that came down last year that required jury trials in domestic violence cases. So if your gun rights are going to be removed, you're afforded a jury trial. And it wasn't my first jury trial; I've done them before, but it was the first here in Mesquite, and that absolutely wasn't just me. I mean, I worked on the city side, but Judge Toon oversaw a very organized, easy trial. The public defender, Jim Gessman, he is a great lawyer. He's 40+ years experience. So between the three of us, I think it turned out good. And in 2 weeks, we have another jury trial stack. So we'll see if we can have the second jury trial. So.
Yeah. I got to go out and stand in the heat for an hour and a half that day doing a story about the gas pipeline.
Oh, nice. Important story, though. The natural gas is huge for the community, so that's great.
Anyway, Okay, let's kind of, what we're gonna do is, I'm not gonna ask just one question, you give a single answer. We're gonna kind of have a discussion back and forth on some of the issues that are forefront right now, but also can give us and the readers some insight into how you look at issues and make decisions and things like that. So the first thing I want to, first topic, the city just received is in the process of receiving $1.7 million under the COVID CARES Act. Mm-hmm. And if, certain things come about in the county, then we stand to get another $500,000 in November.
Right.
Tell us your priorities for spending that money, because it can't just be used for anything.
Right.
So tell us what your priorities are. Is it, and I'm not saying these are the only ones, but is it to go ahead and give the city employees the 5% pay raise that that was canceled July 1? Mm-hmm. Or is it to reimburse or pay for the fire department? Is it to provide some assistance to local businesses, nonprofits? What would you do as the mayor? How would you like to guide the way that money is distributed?
Yeah, and that's a wonderful question. What I want to say to clarify at the beginning before I answer is that a lot of those funds are going to be distributed very quickly. When we get them, they will be distributed. So that's, as city attorney currently, and potentially, hopefully, will be elected mayor. Those funds are going to be spent right away. So first, I want to say
on what?
Well, here's what I want to be careful about is as a city attorney, there's certain things that I still have an obligation to my client, which is the city.
Yes.
So there's certain areas I'm not going to be able to talk about. But I'm going to talk broadly. So if I'll put it this way, the mayor and current city manager and the council, they're going to decide how those funds are expended when they come in next week.
Right.
The way I want to answer that question is what my priorities would be if I were in the mayor's office currently, so people can get an idea. Is that what you're going after?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm running on three things: economic development, workforce housing, and education. When I get in, and I think I will, I'm very excited about the ideas that I have. I'm going to work with council to meet those objectives. Those are the three major problems that we've had. When we talk about CARES Act funding, though, specifically, that money has certain obligations that are put on it, not only by Congress, but then we have Treasury guidelines, and then because of the deal that the city entered with the county in order to get that money, we have certain obligations to the county on things. The areas that it is supposed to be spent on are areas that move us along in the COVID era and help us progress. Now, does that mean restoring police raises? Does that mean restoring firefighters raises? That other communities are doing that. It has not hit our council agenda yet. The specific, I think we've seen broad strokes and we've heard discussions on it, but where we haven't gotten that money yet delivered into the bank account, there hasn't been an exact distribution approved by council that I'm aware of at this point.
Okay.
And so those conversations are going to happen. I know that other communities are looking at doing those things. Where I would like to see it spent, I think first of all, we have to make sure that we are able to continue operating and our businesses are protected in the COVID era. This has been a heart-wrenching time for businesses on two fronts. First of all, they were shut down by a governor earlier this year, and they had to struggle through that, and then they were able to get open, and then some of them right now are being penalized by OSHA for violations that they're simply trying to comply with and they're trying to keep up with. But number two, on the employee front, many of the employees of our local businesses are home taking care of their children and trying to get them to distance learn, and business owners are taken out of the game because of that. I think primarily COVID funding should be used to support our local businesses and our local community to grow, to go after those 3 areas that I've talked about. What I will say is I'm not the mayor today, so I'm not able, and those funds are going to get spent. So I don't want the false impression to be that somehow if I get elected, we're going to retroactively be able to, repair some of this.
Right.
If those funds get spent, they get spent. And that's current council and mayor and managers' obligation to do as they believe is the most appropriate. But that's my position.
So just to clarify, you are an attorney, so
Yes.
we need some interpretation there.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
One of your major priorities then would be to provide assistance in whatever way, shape, or form to businesses and some of their employees.
Absolutely.
That would be
to
one
me,
of your high priorities.
That to me, Barb, is the highest priority of COVID funding, is to get our community back to work, to help and assist. I mean, we've seen some communities really step up as far as education goes and helping their communities so that their community members can get back to work and their children are in a safe place. Those are the types of solutions I'd be looking at with COVID funding.
Okay.